What is up, everybody? Coach Juma here, and today we're going to be breaking down the 7 tricks to hack your hunger so you can successfully diet and lose fat without your stomach getting in the way of slowing you down. But before we get into these tips that I guarantee will change your life if you commit to them, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to comment down below other problems you have that you want me to make solutions for via video, and All conquer them over the next few weeks. We're gonna conquer you. You're gonna conquer yourself. Only you can conquer yourself. All right, time now though to conquer your hunger with these hacks that we're gonna be going through. So there's a few reasons that hunger can happen. One of them is strictly physiological. You are lacking food in your stomach for a long period of time. Your stomach sends a signal to your brain and says, hey, where the hell's the food? Pretty hungry over here. We need this stuff to survive. And then your brain is like, don't worry, I got you. I'll let them know that they need to eat something. And it sends the hunger signal down to your stomach. And that's when you get grumbly. That's when you feel emptiness. And that's when you start reaching for food. Physiological is one part of it. Another part of it is routine. Our hunger signals can go on a routine, and ideally do go on a routine. If you are on a healthy eating schedule and a regular routine, you have a breakfast, you have a lunch, you have a dinner, and you've done that for a good enough period of time or a long enough period of time, you will feel hunger at those moments pretty much instantly because your body has already set up that routine of this is our feeding window. We know we're gonna have food at this time. If we don't have food at this time, we're gonna get hungry. That's another reason. And then the last reason is entirely psychological. We went in depth on a video about the power of your thoughts when it comes to fat loss, and one of the topics regarded how when you think you're eating a non-filling food, you're gonna feel hungrier for longer. But if you think the food you're eating is going to be enough to fill you up, you're gonna feel fuller for longer. And that power of psychology, that placebo effect, and mastering your thoughts and the internal dialogue you have around the meals that you're having is gonna be incredibly powerful to help keep your hunger at bay. But we're not gonna talk about the psychological stuff. We're gonna talk about the physiological stuff. We're gonna talk about the routine stuff. If you do want help with the psychological stuff, highly recommend that you check out the video about the power of thoughts when it comes to your fat loss. It's gonna be linked right here for you to check out. We're starting off with the hacks to help you feel fuller for longer and avoid hunger, keeping it at bay so that you don't overeat and stay in your calorie deficit to lose fat. The first 2 are actually gonna do with what you choose to eat and how you set up your plate. In our modern world of fast food and super calorie dense, hyper palatable food, there are actual food engineers put in place to help make food as tasty as possible so that you're gonna want more of that food, so that you can go buy more of that food and these people get more money. So a lot of the foods that you get at restaurants, like pizza and wings in particular, can have certain, people call them addictive properties, but they are in the science world called hyper palatable. So extremely easy and delightful to eat and want more of. So it's hard to be satiated and stop after having 1 slice of pizza, after having 2-3 wings. It's way easier to have a dozen wings, to have 3 slices of pizza, because that's how the food is designed. Having foods like that are gonna make it way harder to keep hunger at bay because they're designed to keep you wanting more. So we wanna focus our efforts and our food decisions to include more hypopalatable or moderately palatable foods that when you eat a sufficient amount of it, you will feel full and content with that food. Really easy examples of this are going to be high protein foods and plant sources. So this is hack 1 and hack 2. Having any kind of plant source like fruits and vegetables as a part of your meal are going to fill your stomach up for longer because they tend to be high in fiber. Having high protein sources also tend to be very satiating foods because they also fill your stomach up for longer. With fiber, it doesn't actually get digested. It's used as fuel for your digestive system to break down other foods. So that weight of the fiber, the calories from the fiber, sit in your stomach for longer periods of time. Likewise with protein, protein is a very hard food to digest for your digestive system. And for that reason, it tends to sit in your stomach a little bit longer when you're eating it as a solid food. When you're having a whey protein shake, that's usually relatively quickly digested. But most meats and other high protein sources have that high satiety effect because they're a little slower to digest. When you think about it, when you're having a good lean source of protein like chicken breast, you wouldn't be able to eat a dozen chicken breast pieces in one sitting like you would be eating 15 chicken wings in one sitting. And again, the reason is, even though they're both chicken, they're designed differently. It's harder to want to eat lots of chicken breast because they're not hyper palatable. They're not designed to be eaten more of. They're designed to fill you up, give you protein, and satiate you appropriately. So aiming to have every meal have a large portion of protein or have an adequate portion of protein and an adequate portion of plants when you sit down, and have them be clearly distinctive of each other. So not having like a lasagna that has chicken and has some vegetables in it. That's not the dominant food group of that meal. It's also not clearly distinguishable as a protein source. It just has a little protein boost to it. So making sure that you include a specific and clear protein source with your meal, and also a specific and clear plant source with your meal, at least with all of the major meals you have throughout the day, is going to help you feel fuller for longer and keep your hunger at bay so you can stick to your calorie deficit and have successful fat loss. The next trick is to avoid liquid calories, but still have a good amount of liquids. What that looks like is having 0-calorie drinks or having water with every meal and throughout the day is gonna help keep hunger at bay, because it's gonna fill up space in your stomach. Whatever space the water is taking up is space that other food can't take up. And it will be sufficient enough space for your body to feel fuller, or at least full enough to not initiate the hunger signal from your stomach to your brain. Aiming to have a gallon of water throughout your day as a generic benchmark, or getting a good sized water bottle that you carry with you throughout the day and having maybe 2 or 3 fill-ups of it will help you keep hunger at bay. Likewise, you want to make sure that this is 0 calories, because the calories you do drink from food isn't going to be the calories you do drink from liquid sources, particularly from juices, sodas, and lighter drinks, unlike smoothies and shakes that have a little bit more weight to them, is that you'll be consuming hundreds of calories super quickly, but not getting the fullness benefit you would from eating an equal amount of those calories. So if you imagine getting an 8-ounce glass of orange juice, if you were to freshly squeeze that, you would probably fit 5 or 6 calories worth of oranges in that 1 cup, which is like 200, 300 calories. Drinking that is going to be a lot easier and less filling than eating 5 or 6 oranges in one sitting, peeling and eating them. I think we can all understand that and relate to that. So really shifting the focus and prioritizing where you get your calories from, and also prioritizing the types of liquids you choose to ingest and put into your body will help make the fat loss process a lot simpler for you. And sticking to the theme of liquids, tip number 4 to hack your hunger is having coffee or any kind of caffeine consumption. Again, ideally we want to make this a 0-calorie drink. We don't want to go to Starbucks and get a latte that barely has any coffee in it. It's mostly milk and mostly sugar. It's going to end up being 500 calories. Getting a black coffee, getting a cold brew, and using 0-calorie sweeteners, things of that nature are going to help you push hunger aside and delay it for longer periods of time so that you don't get those cravings, you don't get those hunger pains throughout the day. The key thing here is just having caffeine in general. Now, a big caveat is that you don't want to have caffeine too late in the day, because that's going to throw off your sleep. My general rule of thumb is have your last bit of caffeine at least 8 hours before you plan on going to sleep. So if you plan on going to sleep at 11 p.m., you should have your last bit of caffeine at 3 p.m. Yeah, had to do some math there. Your last caffeine consumption period should be by 3 p.m. if you plan on going to bed by 11 p.m. That's going to be a good rule of thumb. Everyone's time that they go to sleep is going to be a little bit different. Just know that if you have caffeine closer to bed, you'll risk having poor or disrupted sleep or struggle going to sleep. If you're someone that is thinking, oh, I have caffeine before bed all the time and I go to sleep just fine, that's not a good thing. It's not a thing to be proud of. It means your body's overstimulated, and just so overstimulated and fatigued that it just falls asleep. You don't want that. Make sure you're always aware of how often and how much caffeine you're consuming throughout the day so that you can have better sleep and also have better fat loss. Because tip number 5 is going to be getting enough sleep and getting good quality sleep. Sleep is very much underrated when it comes to fat loss for a number of reasons, but specifically talking about how it relates to hunger and your cravings. When you are sleep deprived, when you get less than 6 hours of quality sleep a night, your body actually produces more of the hunger hormone and less of the satiety hormone. Throughout the day, after you have less than 6 hours of sleep, you're going to be feeling more hunger, and your time to fullness is going to take longer as a result of it. So what would normally satiate you on a day-to-day basis wouldn't be enough, and you'll feel the need to eat more. In fact, a study was done to see how much more calories people eat when they're consistently sleep deprived, and they found that people that get less than 6 hours of sleep a night, multiple nights in a row, tend to eat an average of 500 extra calories a day. By the end of the week, that's 3,500 calories. And if you've ever heard of the old rule, 1 pound of fat is equal to 3,500 calories. And there's some truth to that. So essentially, if you're sleep deprived multiple days in the week, 7 days a week, you'll have eaten an extra pound of fat worth of calories by the end of it. So making sure you get enough sleep is going to be huge for hacking your hunger and making sure that it's not something you experience throughout the day and help you stick to your fat loss goals. Tip number six is going to be eating low-fat options. Fat is the most calorically dense nutrient that you can consume. Protein and carbs are 4 calories per gram. 10 grams of protein or 10 grams of carbs will get you 40 calories, but a gram of fat is worth 9 grams of calories. So 10 grams of fat is going to be 90 calories versus 40 calories for carbs and proteins. Eating the same weight of food from fats versus carbs and protein will give you over 2 times the number of calories that you're consuming. Opting for foods that are going to be lower in fat, like fat-free yogurt, like fat-free milk, aiming for margarine versus butter.
So it's not fat-free, but it's lower.
It's not fat-free, but it's lower fat relative to butter. Popcorn, fat-free popcorn versus buttered up popcorn can go a long way in helping you feel full without getting all the calories in, and also keep hunger at bay at the same time. Because as we talked about earlier, in those hyperpalatable foods, one of the key ingredients to making a food hyperpalatable is increasing the fat content of it. And that makes you want to have more of it. That's why all the best foods that you can never get enough of tend to be pretty fatty foods. Again, pizza and wings as prime examples of that. And then the last hunger hack here is one people don't respect enough. It's way too simple, but it easily can be the most impactful habit that you build for yourself if you learn how to do it right. And that is eating more slowly and more mindfully. Taking the time to chew your food as opposed to just swallowing your food whole, and taking breaks while you're eating your food will help you feel fuller longer and have you eating less food per sitting throughout the day and throughout the weeks. In fact, this one study showed the power of that incredibly well. The University of Rhode Island fed 30 normal weight women the same kind of pasta recipe 2 different days, and they didn't change anything. All they asked from them was to change how they were eating. For lunch 1, it was eat normally / eat as fast as you can. Just try to finish the plate that's in front of you to the best of your ability. And lunch 2 was eat slowly, chew your food more thoroughly, and put your utensil down between bites. So they had to make the mindful effort to pick up their spoon or fork and continue eating every single time they filled up their mouths. And they were told to just eat until they were content. Once they felt full, stop eating, both for the eating as fast as you can and for eating mindfully and putting your fork down between bites. So what they found was on the day that the women ate as fast as they can, they consumed an average of 650 calories in 9 minutes. But when eating slowly and more mindfully, they found that they were content at around 550 calories and finished in 29 minutes. And more than that, it took them longer to feel hungrier for their next meal eating slowly than it did eating as fast as they can. Imagine doing this for every meal of your day for an entire week. You're eating 100 fewer calories per meal and you're feeling fuller for longer, keeping hunger at bay for longer periods of time. And as a result, probably snacking less and eating less at your next meal too. You do that 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. That's 300 calories saved a day, 2,100 calories saved a week, eating the same exact foods, but just feeling fuller sooner. This is the power of eating more mindfully and taking the time to chew your food thoroughly and not rushing to finish your food. You're able to save calories without really changing anything about what you're eating or when you're eating it. So these are my 7 hunger hacks that are guaranteed to help you feel fuller for longer, curb your cravings, and keep hunger at bay so that you can stick to your calorie deficit and lose more fat than you ever have before. Very simple to execute. You don't have to start doing all 7 of these to experience a great change. Starting with any one of them that sounds easy enough for you to do is going to be great. And then you can add more of these strategies over time as you continue to gain confidence in how you eat and what you're eating. Try these out for a little bit and let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have any questions or want clarifications from anything I talked about in this video, comment them down below as well. And if you think a friend can find this helpful, make sure to share it. Once again, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a beat. And as always, stay stupid.